Yeah, I should win just because you had the Timberwolves in the 8th seed.
Vasilevsky's been playing really well, and the Lightning have a great offense.
Yeah, it was a tremendous shot, and I've come to expect it from LeBron. I would say I wish the best for the Red Sox, but as a Yankees fan, that's really hard for me to do.
The biggest addition to me is Jalen Brunson.
Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers, and that's all I have to say. He's still a top 5 quarterback in this league, and there's nothing really anyone can do about it.
Why'd you have to name him? Like, seriously. Like, thanks, man.
Who would have thought 5 years ago that the Clippers and Nets would be facing in the finals?
How is Joe Burrow going to get the ball to them if his butt is already on the ground?
Crazy. And for the fans at home,
Hello, I'm Cy Mendenhall, and you're listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NFL Opinions of the Weekend. This is a post recording intro. So the intro that we had recorded got swiped away by us, the producers and editors of this. Usually we say the intro, then we just go into the video. This is an edited version because we are doing the quarterbacks. So this was intended to be one video. And then I will give credit to the man that noticed the time before me. I noticed it after we ended the recording session. And that, of course, is Austin.
Yeah, Kevin, we got into it a little bit. It was a great episode. This will be our 17 through 32. Like you mentioned, this was supposed to be all one video, but Kevin doesn't like the videos being too long, and I agree with him. They shouldn't be too long. We want them to be easy, kind of listen on the drive or just while eating dinner or something. But we really did not recognize the time. I didn't recognize the time until about 5 minutes were left.
Yeah, I really thought it was like, because we didn't get in that many arguments. It was just like one big argument that happened.
Yeah, that it was just one massive, never-ending argument, I guess.
I didn't feel like that was a massive argument, but yeah, we were both focused on the conversation, our opinions. So
and that's good. That means the quality of the content was high. So
yes, the quality is always high. Just gonna say that, always high.
We do our best.
Yeah, but yeah, an hour-long episode I usually sleep to, so if you're listening before you're going to bed, good night. But yeah, so that's new intro. Well, you won't spend much more time, but yeah, so here's the pre-recorded video now. Yeah, so we have 32, and these are not all starting quarterbacks. It can be other quarterbacks. And I did include one because there's no way that he cannot start. Just because of the issues given around the team. So we'll get to them pretty quick, but any initial thoughts before we get in? Final thoughts are at the end.
Yeah, so I am kind of interested to see where you have some of these guys. This is based on skill, not necessarily how good stat-wise I think they're going to be for next season, but it is based on next season. So this isn't last season rankings. It's this upcoming season, 2024 rankings, but based on skill, not necessarily production. There's a player on here that could not play because he's a backup, and I'd still potentially think he's better than a starter on another team. And that's just how the NFL works itself out. But I'll let you start, Kevin. Who is your number 32?
So my number 32 is the guy I was talking about. I feel I limited. This is also kind of how I viewed it of who would I want first, who's my 32nd pick. I kind of thought in the NFL world, given just the Deshaun Watson situation, I don't believe there's any way the Browns cannot have him starting for us. This was a conversation we had, but he's my 32. He has fallen considerably. I guess that year off did really affect him. And I know he's dealt with injuries, but he just is not a quarterback. And we have tiers. I have two, and I said these guys are barely capable. He's in that barely capable.
I like that name. That's not my name I have for it. I may change it to that because that's a really good name. I'm not going to. I won't steal your thunder there. But I have Deshaun Watson pretty significantly higher than you just because I do think he still has the potential to be good. These bottom guys, I don't necessarily see them as a good chance of having a great season next year, even though I do think they're better than the guys who were left off the list. And there are some guys we'll get to at the end that I will mention that were left off of this year's edition. My 32 is Aiden O'Connell. I don't necessarily know how the Raiders are going to look this year. Davante Adams has said that he was going to push for a trade or look for a move, or I don't know necessarily what's going to happen there. But Aiden O'Connell did win some games last year. I don't think he's the worst quarterback of all time. I don't think he's the worst quarterback in the league. I just think he's the 32nd best. So he deserves to be a starter on a team. It's just this is kind of how it's worked out.
All right, now who is your 31?
So my 31, in a similar vein, I don't know necessarily how it's going to go next year. It's J.J. McCarthy. He will be the starter, I think, for the Vikings this upcoming year. It could be Sam Darnold. It could be. I think that he will be the starter, and they have enough good wide receivers. I know Jordan Addison is going to be out for 3 weeks. I know that T.J. Hawkinson is not going to be 100% come week 1. But when you have Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and T.J. Hawkinson, these are really good guys to throw the ball to, and I do think that J.J. McCarthy could succeed in that situation.
Yeah, you will not be hearing J.J. McCarthy's name. I don't get it. I don't see him helping. My 31, and this is in barely capable. I do think he deserves a chance to start, but, and this is also the end of barely capable, that tier is Zach Wilson.
Okay.
There were moments where he played well, and I kind of want one more year to see what he has.
Yeah, I think that's fair, I think.
Okay.
Who's your 30?
I'm going to my 30. So my 30 is capable. These guys, they have solid abilities. They can make some good throws. However, I just don't trust them to be like, this would be a limited offense for me. It's like mostly we're going to be a ground and pound. We're going to run the ball. I'm not going to really put the ball in your hands a lot, but you can make the throws that I think you can. Like, I don't think you can overthrow a slant or a middle or a crossing route. And you can throw the occasional deep ball. So this is kind of and this is the thing also with my list is these guys are all fantastic quarterbacks. It's just the NFL is such a difficult league that the margins of what is a good quarterback, elite, incredible quarterback is so thin. So these guys I think should be starting as my 30th is Drew Lock. I think he played well against the Eagles as a quarterback. I do think he should be a starter, and I don't think he's going to be amazing, but I think he could he'd make better throws than
What
Zach
team is
Wilson.
he on now?
He's on the Giants, so I think there is a situation where he gets a chance to start, but I'm not. It could all depend.
I don't have him on my list, so
that's fair.
I know you're a fan, so I'll let you mention him, but I do not end up having him on my list. Anything else you'd like to say about him?
No, I think he's kind of got cut short with the Broncos, and he kind of regained his confidence, and we saw that in that game against the Eagles with the Seahawks.
Yeah. So my number 30 is Mac Jones. So we both go bench guys for number 30. Mac Jones is now on the Jaguars. I think part of the problem with Mac Jones was the offense, was the guys he's with, was the coaching staff. I still see the light. I still think he could be a starter in this league. So, I think you and I agree on someone who's on a bench. I will have at least one more guy that's currently on a bench, or one of the two of them will be on a bench, if that kind of hints at who the discussion is going to be about. But I do think that Mac Jones is a starting level quarterback. This bottom tier for me, it ends here in a second, is going to be called, it's just poor. That's why I called it last year. I'm going to call it again this year. That goes up to 27 for me. 27 below is poor.
Okay. My capable goes up to 21, so it's a large segment. Who's your 29?
My 29 is, this is going to be his first year fully starting. They did start some games last year. Will Levis with the Titans. He has arm talent, and he showed some sparks. He won some games. I don't think he's necessarily a bad player, but he is still young. He still needs to learn how to deal under pressure. And they have good wide receivers this year. I think Treylon Burks may finally break out, but they do have DeAndre Hopkins. They got Calvin Ridley. They still have Derrick Henry. Their O-line has gotten better from last year, so I think there's a good chance for him to come onto the scene a little bit. But I'm still a little bit wary. He hasn't proven anything yet, but I still think he's definitely a top 32 QB.
Yeah, I have him a little bit higher, and I will say Derrick Henry's on the.
That's right.
They do have Tony Pollard, and
still,
they also have Spear.
Yeah, that's right.
So they still have a good running. It's a good offense.
You're right. That's a good call.
Okay. My 29 is Gardner Minshew. He played a lot for the Colts last year. I do think he starts, and I gave him the edge over Drew Lock because he gets starting opportunities. Drew Lock really doesn't and hasn't. So Gardner Minshew to me is he played well. He can have some moments, but so he's a solid starter.
Who's he on now?
He's on the Raiders. Yeah, pretty sure.
I think O'Connell will start, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah,
I don't have Minshew.
I don't have O'Connell. I don't really like him. I would prefer Minshew over O'Connell next year. But if we're talking about future, I would see what you have in O'Connell.
Yeah, I don't end up having Minshew on mine, but that was your 29?
Yeah, that's my 29.
So who's your 28?
My 28 is Jaden Daniels. So I did sprinkle in some rookie QBs. Jaden Daniels, to me, he did win the Heisman last year. He's a little bit older. I think he can come in and play. I do think he's better than Gardner Minshew, but that's not really a high bar. Like Minshew's a starter. I think Daniels can do something similar to Minshew, where he can make some throws. He will make some bad mistakes throwing interceptions. And that's why Jaden Daniels is at 28.
Yeah, that's a good pick. I have Jaden Daniels as well at 28, so we agree on that. I don't know how many we're gonna agree on. I know we're gonna agree on number one. I don't think that one's much to disclose, but Jaden Daniels is I have 3 rookies. He is the second highest of the rookies here, but for many similar reasons, he's in my poor still because I don't necessarily know if the Washington offense is going to be great. I still think that they have holes to fix, but Jaden Daniels is that guy there. But I will go into my 27, the last guy in poor, a guy that was a Pro Bowler just 2 years ago, Daniel Jones. I do think Daniel Jones is still a starting caliber quarterback. I think part of the problem was guys around him. The O-line was absolutely atrocious last year. I don't know if you remember, it was bad. Like it was
very bad.
It was just to talk around it. What happened with Andrew Thomas and Evan Neal was just it was a bad situation. Thomas was less bad as Neal, where Neal was literally calling out like Giants fans, which you should never do as a player. But I do think that Daniel Jones could still be a good quarterback. It's just injuries and other things that really prevented him from reaching what I think is his best potential. But I do think that he will have the opportunity. Like you said, Drew Lock's there. Daniel Jones will be getting the first team reps until further notice. We'll see if that does happen, but that's my last guy in poor.
Okay. I have a guy at 27 who I think is similar to Daniel Jones right now, and that's Anthony Richardson. He dealt with an injury, so I do have some of the stats. I was really surprised his completion percentage was 59.5, which was, I'll just go into my 26 is Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones has proven he can start and play. He has dealt with injuries. He is more of a run-first guy to me, and that's kind of what Anthony Richardson is to me, and they can make some throws. And Daniel Jones got the edge over Anthony Richardson because of the completion percentage. It was 67.5, which I was pretty surprised by. So very similar quarterbacks, but so 27, Anthony Richardson, and then I went to 26, Daniel Jones.
Okay. My 26 is Justin Fields. This is the exact same spot he was at last year for me. He didn't move. I'm interested to see. Some people are saying that he's going to be the starter. Some people are saying Russell Wilson. I do think Russell Wilson will win the week 1 job. That's what I think will happen. Russ is further up on my list, so that tells you that I do think Russell Wilson is better. It's going to be an interesting year. Justin Fields is going to be in a new system. There's going to be high expectations because of how high of a pick he was. But he's the younger guy in the locker room, and we'll see how it ends up working out.
Yeah, Justin Fields, who I was very high on going into the season, has fallen out of my top 32. Um, I just really thought he'd be good, and even like above average to me is kind of where I had him. And he made some plays, but there are just moments where he can't really do it, and there'd be glimpses. But I just chose not to do him. Yeah, it was tough. He had 16 touchdowns, but also 9 interceptions. So that was what stuck out to me about him. But now, so 26 is Daniel Jones, or I mean, for Justin Fields for you.
Yeah, 25 is the new Chicago quarterback, Caleb Williams. I do have him as the highest rated rookie, which is not a hot take at all. I do think the Bears slightly improved upon what they had last year. I do think that Caleb Williams will struggle this year getting used to it, but he does have a better wide receiver core. So if he has a significantly better season than I predict, it's probably just a result of that. Their O-line still needs some work. Their running game is okay. I'll see how he adjusts and adjusts, obviously, my list accordingly. But I'm interested to see what the offense looks like, how much they will trust Caleb Williams' arm in big moments.
Yeah, I'll get to Caleb Williams. He is my highest rated quarterback for the rookie quarterbacks. 25 is Will Levis. I feel like he has a lot of potential. I think he can be a great passer. I think he's a better passer than Daniel Jones. That's why he's at 25, even though he did have a bad completion percentage with 58.4 and 8 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. But I think he'll do better this year. We'll see how he does with this new receiving core. But I think he's a quality starter. It's just where is he at? Now we go to 24, which is a rookie that I have Michael Penix. I know you were very high on him. Now I've bought into Michael Penix. I think he is a good quarterback, and he would be a great starter now. I would have drafted him early. Well, yeah, he did go at 8, but I think a team looking, I would have loved him with the Broncos because I think he's better than Zach Wilson. I think he can really fit in and play now. It's just the future of him is difficult to see given his age. But to me, right now, I would choose Michael Penix over Will Levis.
Yeah, I don't end up having Michael Penix on my list, mainly because I think he's going to grow a lot this year with the assistance of Kirk Cousins above him. But that was your 25?
Yes.
Who's your 24?
Or no, 25 is Will Levis, 24 is Michael Penix.
Okay. My 24 is Bryce Young. Last year, he did not make my list. He is the second highest of the new additions to the list for me. I think he's going to have a significantly better year. I still have him in this below average category because he still needs some help, but he will be starting caliber. I feel like those poor guys could still be argued like as not starters. I think below average is when you're a starter. It's just you're not the greatest. So I do think he'll show a lot better than he did last year and really be improved. I do think the Panthers are improved on last year, not just him, but just overall.
Yeah, I do think I have capable. They should be a starter. Barely capable is I see the argument, but I would prefer not to have them as a starter of my team. My 23 is Kyler Murray. He's really fallen in my eyes. I think he still has potential, but he came back from injury, and I'm interested to see how he rebounds from that injury again. But he had 10 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. I do think he's better than Michael Penix because he has a lot of those wow values. When DeAndre Hopkins was still on the Cardinals, Kyler and him were amazing. That's when I was really high on Kyler Murray. But it's been difficult. The year after that, he struggled. So he, to me, should start, but there are better quarterbacks, in my personal opinion.
Okay. Who's your next guy?
So my 22 is Caleb Williams. I feel better about him than Kyler. I love the pick for the Bears. I think he definitely has room to grow, and he's not going to be perfect. There were, looking at the draft, I would say Trevor Lawrence would be perfect right in. I was wrong about that, and I thought the same thing about Bryce Young. But to me, there are reasons to be concerned about Caleb Williams, and that's why he's at 22. But I think he will be a great starter, and definitely capable.
Who is your 24?
My 24 is Michael Penix.
Okay. I don't know how we got off track here. Let me do my 23 and then my 22,
Okay.
and then I'll do my 21 as well. So I'll do three straight so we
yeah.
get back on track. My 23 is Derek Carr. He's down 8 from last year. He's still with the Saints. The Saints could be a good offense. I'm really interested to see how Clint Kubiak kind of draws up plays. I think that young wide receiver like A.T. Perry could really be good this year, but I do think that Derek Carr has kind of fallen from where he was. The highest new guy for me, and the one that's the first one in the average category, is Anthony Richardson. I'm higher on him than you are. The one thing that concerns me is that he is reckless with his body, and I don't know necessarily how he's going to be able to adjust that throughout the season. My 21 is Deshaun Watson. He still has the talent. He's just not the smartest when it comes to doing stuff off the field. I think that on the field for the Browns, he could be a still capable average starting caliber player.
Yeah, that's where you and I disagree on Deshaun Watson. Like I just don't. It may be injuries and just everything off the field affecting him, but I don't see that talent a lot from him anymore.
Okay.
But so I was your 21. My 21 is Bryce Young. I feel he's going to do great. To me, he's a ready now guy. Looking at his numbers from last season, he had 11 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. That surprised me a lot, in a 59.8 completion percentage. So I do think he figures it out, and this is the end of capable, because I think he could go into my average category, which is the next pick at 20.
So who's your 21 again?
21 is Bryce Young.
Got it. And then your 20?
My 20 is Derek Carr. I think he is a good quarterback. He does have some issues sometimes, but not too bad. He threw 8 interceptions, but he had 25 touchdowns. His completion percentage, 68.4, was really good. And I have it as 5th in the league. That's what I said on ESPN. That I used all my stats from ESPN.com. But I do think he is a good quarterback. He can be reckless with the ball. And you could see there were moments where teammates were getting upset with him. But I think he has some moments where I'm like, okay, that is a really good quarterback. I can trust having the ball in his hand and putting him and letting him throw wherever he thinks.
Okay.
And now,
my number 20 is Kirk Cousins. He falls 9 spots. The problem with him is that his Achilles tear was on his throwing side. I still think he's intelligent enough to be an average quarterback, and maybe they can make the playoffs because they have a lot of guys that are, I think, talented on the offensive side. But I am worried about how the team is going to be around him this year.
Yeah, I'll get to Kirk Cousins in a little bit. Mine, I'll let you go into your 19.
Say again.
I'll let you go into your 19. Because I just did 20.
Yeah, sounds good. My number 19 is Russell Wilson. This is the same spot that he was in last year. He did play better last year than he did the year before that, but I am worried that this system is not necessarily built for a player like him. They're a run-heavy team, which you could say is like the Seahawks of old. However, they don't really have the wide receiver talent outside of George Pickens. I'm not really confident in some of the other guys. So Russ falls at 19.
Okay. I do have Russ a little bit higher. My 19 is Baker Mayfield. I know he had a great year last year. But I've always been a Baker hater. I think he's a good quarterback, and that's why he's in my average. It's just some moments he's great, and I would say it's a great season, but I am skeptical of that season. I want to see if he can repeat it, but I do think he is a better than a capable starter. I would rather have him over Derek Carr. He had more yards than Derek Carr, and only 2 more interceptions, and he had 3 more touchdowns. So I feel like Baker is a really good starter to have, It's just there are other guys I would rather have than him.
Okay, I do have Baker in a tier above you. I do not have him in my average tier. Who's your 18?
My 18 is Tua. I think he's sort of
Wow.
a byproduct of his system,
Wow.
and he has 14 interceptions, 29 touchdowns. I know he did have the most yards, but he did have two great wide receivers, and I just really need to see more from him. This is the end of average, so he is on that breaking. He could enter that above average tier next season. He's dealt with injuries.
Well, I just don't know what the difference is between him and a guy like Dak. Like, what is the difference?
Well, Dak can go off script. Tua struggles. Dak to me is still mobile and has more mobile points. And Dak to me, I've much higher.
I can see that.
I'm really
Tua's never led
impressed.
the league in interceptions, so.
Well, yeah, but Dak only had 9 interceptions last year, which is less than Tua, and he had more touchdowns.
It's less, sure, but if you go over the last 2 years combined, Dak's thrown more.
Yes, but I'm going into next season. I would rather have Dak over a lot of other quarterbacks than Tua. I just don't see the moments where Tua is
even though he
average.
led the league in passing yards last year.
Yes,
and was top 5 in rating.
Yes.
Okay.
To me,
I think this will be one of our biggest disagreements.
Yeah, I don't really believe much into.
And you're worried about injuries for a guy that played 17 games last year.
But if you're looking at passer rating. I have QBR. Right. When you were talking about rating, you're talking about passer rating with Tua. Correct.
Yes.
Okay. When I looked at the QBR, which is a stat, I didn't much rely on that, but I wanted to have that in here.
Well, Dak was better last year at passer rating too.
Okay, then yeah. So you're still holding the interceptions against Dak from.
Well, because the year before that, Tua led the league in passer rating. The year before, 2 years ago. Okay. If you go again, if we combine the last 2 years, it's pretty clear who the better quarterback is in my mind. And
well, I think you can be on that island. Dak did also finish well in MVP votes.
I think that's part of the greatness of the team around him, not necessarily him. Again, you're complaining about how Tua has great wide receivers
than Dak. You have Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle.
Yeah, well, CeeDee is also a top 3 wide receiver in the league right
now.
Yeah,
but then what about
devoid of wide receiver talent?
Cooks? No, but I would say Tua has.
Jalen Waddle missed a lot. Jalen Waddle and Tyreek both missed games last year.
I would also say Mike McDaniel is an incredible offensive mind head coach, more than Mike McCarthy.
I don't think the offensive mind argument for a coach has ever diminished a quarterback's rating.
In my opinion, it does.
Then how is Patrick Mahomes number 1 when he is the greatest offensive head coach's mind?
Because there are moments where the plays go off script and he makes an incredible throw. I don't see that with Tua. He struggles with timing. If the timing's off, he does not do well.
I
saw what happened to him in the snow game.
In a snow game. Yes, I saw what happened to Dak against the Packers in the playoffs when he was the supposed to be the favorite by far, while Tua was playing against the eventual champion Chiefs. It's a big difference.
All right. Well, I just don't get Tua.
I can see that. My number 18 is Matthew Stafford. He fell 6 spots from last year for my ranking. Stafford's a guy that also deals with injuries. I'm worried about his health. His shoulder health for his entire career has taken him out of games. He did play 15 games last year, and in those games, he had 24 touchdowns and 11 picks. He was okay. If you go by passer rating, 92.5 is okay. He was just okay. Somehow, he was still 8th in MVP voting, which I think is he'd even throw for 4,000 yards, which I agree that he should have been in comeback player of the year because the year before that he played 9 games. But his rating, the way he was playing last year, was not incredible. I'm interested to see how he plays this year. The Rams, for them to make the playoffs, are going to need him to play well. I don't necessarily know how that's going to go, but based on last year, I'm not as confident in the Rams because while they just have a lot of players that have dealt with injuries that are significant. Kyron has foot injuries. Cooper Kupp has dealt with a lot of injuries. It's going to be a little concerning. While Matthew Stafford was 15th in passer rating last year, so he's good. He's average, but he doesn't make it all that high on my list. My number 17 is Geno Smith, who fell 8 spots. I have Geno a little bit higher because I'm just a little bit more confident that he can take care of the ball. He only threw 9 picks last year, and both of these guys right here are Pro Bowlers, but I have them as average just because I think their age, a little bit of injuries because Geno also played 15 games last year. Both of them missed time with shoulder injuries, and while they were roughly the same record when they played, it definitely was notable that they were not like who they were a couple years before that.
All right, yeah, I'll get to Geno in a little bit. My 17 is Russell Wilson. He did have a better year than last year. To me, he's in that above average category, which goes on for a while. For me, they have great qualities, but there are question marks for every team. Russell Wilson has demonstrated he was a top QB, but he has fallen from that. To me, though, he still warrants to be in the above average category. He can still, I believe he can still do a lot. It's just, so he's in the above average. I wouldn't be shocked if he isn't, if he falls a lot and goes into the capable starter territory, but he still has some moments, and I do think he is a good quarterback. And that's why he's at my 17.
Okay. Sounds good. Who's your 16?